Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to the Operation Freedom Platform. I'd like to thank you for joining me today and thank you for support of this platform. You can join me every Sunday on our radio show. We air the show live every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern. It's free. All you have to do is go to davejanda.com and you can stream the show live. Hit the listen button in the upper right-hand corner. 2 to 5 Eastern every Sunday. In addition, we have additional content that is free at davejanda.com. And we also have a subscription side of the platform, 30 cents a day, $9 a month, that has extra shows, a tremendous amount of extra content. In fact, I'm going to be releasing some of that subscription content to you later this week in a special presentation. We have whistleblowers over time that have come forward on our platform. And in the past, one of the whistleblowers, two of the whistleblowers that we've had come forward, were associated with Benghazi. If you haven't seen those interviews with Charles Woods, the father of Ty Woods, who died in Benghazi, and then the subsequent interview with Charles Woods and Travis, an individual, courageous individual, who was in the field of operations that night that Benghazi came down. And his presentation, along with Charles Wood's presentation of what Benghazi was really all about and why rescue teams were told to stand down. Well, we're going to present something this week on our platform, the subscription side. And because of the national security implications from yet another whistleblower, I have been asked to release that information as soon as possible to the public. And that will be released this Friday. I know you're busy, but I assure you, the information you see in that report, you will never get from the bought-off lamestream fake media. Now, I want to turn to today's topic. President Trump and AG Barr are melting, destroying the deep state's attempted coup. Excuse me. This is what I think got the deep state all riled up and started the melting process. President Trump orders the FBI CIA to fully cooperate with AG Barr, grants quote, full and complete authority to declassify. This is what really got the ball rolling. President Trump, on May 23rd, announced that he had directed the U.S. intelligence community to, quote, quickly and fully cooperate with the Attorney General's investigation into surveillance activities in the 2016 presidential election, adding that Attorney General William Barr has been given, quote, complete authority to declassify information pertaining to this investigation. President Trump further went on to say, today's action, quote, today's action will help ensure that all Americans learn the truth about the events that occurred, end quote. As opposed to previous administrations, whether it's Barack Obama, Bush 1, Bush 2, Bill Clinton, it appears that transparency here is good, as opposed to the smoke and mirrors that we have come to, I guess, expect. Then we had Attorney General Barr, this is from The Hill, Kevin Brock, great reporter. Attorney General Barr puts former Intel bosses Clapper and Brennan on notice. A little more melting. Things seem to be moving quickly now. Momentum is building toward uncovering the distasteful possibility that the targeting of a U.S. presidential campaign was actually a political operation, fostered at the highest levels of government, masquerading as an FBI counterintelligence investigation. Attorney General William Barr has signaled that his interest in examining the origins of the investigation of the Trump campaign extends beyond whether the FBI operated, quote, by the book, end quote, as former FBI Director James Comey asserts. Yeah, you don't want his book. Barr also wants to understand the role that the larger intelligence community, or IC, may have played in all of this. Enter John Brennan, former director of the CIA. Under Barack Obama, enter James Clapper, former director of national intelligence. Under Barack Obama. Remember, we have drilled this point home that in the Obama administration, they took a parallel platform of surveillance that was developed initially to surveil foreign operators. The Obama administration took that platform called the Hammer, H-A-M-R, and pulled it away toward their from investigation of foreign terrorist activities, and actually became a privatized system just for their little old selves to monitor phone calls, emails, internet activities, financial transactions of people domestically. Why? For leverage and blackmail. Yeah. How do we know that that's actually true? There was a great article recently written by great investigative journalists Mary Fanning and Alan Jones that uncovered testimony that was just released, actually. Doug Collins, a lot of credit. Congressman Doug Collins has released a lot of these transcripts that were from behind closed doors. The one that was released that Fanning and Jones focused on was James Baker, former general counsel of the FBI with Comey in the Obama administration. Testified twice, early October 2nd, and then again, I believe, on October 15th, 2-day testimony, about 2 weeks apart. First day he testified, he was asked under oath, was there any surveillance being occurred by the Obama administration on Trump or Americans? His answer, no. And 2 weeks later, he comes back for a second testimony. And Jim Jordan starts asking him a question about something else. And he goes, can we stop for a sec? Yeah. So I remember this a couple days ago. This is what he testified to. Remember a couple days ago, it just came to me. Yeah, I think. I was asked this question about surveillance in the Obama administration. Well, I remembered a couple days ago that actually I had sent a team down to Florida to get hardware from this guy who had a lot of hardware, a lot of stuff about illegal surveillance by government officials of government officials and American citizens that was done illegally. In other words, on a parallel platform. What? Stay tuned. They're melting. This declassification has them panicked. And the beautiful thing is that when President Trump did this is kind of like he's inflicting water torture on just drip, drip, drip. Remember the Alinsky technique that Hillary is so fond of and the Clintons are so fond of and all the deep staters are so fond of. You know, I grew up in Chicago. Alinsky's from Chicago. Dirtball. Roasting somewhere really hot right now, I think. He used to say, the fear of the event needs to be made more troublesome than the event itself. By doing what the president is doing, he is making the fear of the event, which supposedly more terrible than the actual event when it hits, but I'm not sure that's the case. I think the fear before the event and when it hits for these deep state coup plotters who are being exposed and melting, I think is going to be bad at both ends. But by doing what he did, by turning this over to Barr and said, you go right ahead and declassify all this stuff. Barr is working with several prosecutors One of which is this John Durham, who, from all my contacts, say real deal, tough, honest, doesn't play a political game. This guy will take out anybody and everybody that's not playing fair, not playing right, not playing by the book, and anything associated with criminal activity. Well, we welcome the new sheriff in town. But by allowing Barr to declassify, he can selectively declassify information behind the curtain to Durham and other prosecutors that are working elsewhere to take out these deep state players. Now, I also believe that AG Barr will not just declassify documents behind the curtain, but that will lead to prosecutions, but he will also declassify documents to let light on this entire goat rodeo of this fake Russian collusion narrative with Trump. And that's where the FISA warrants about Carter Page, that's where the 302 forms, the forms the FBI fills out when they interviewed Bruce Orr, who was fourth in command at the Justice Department in the Obama administration. I believe it includes the remainder of the text messages between Strzok and Page. That stuff in front of the curtain that will be declassified. But I also think there's this group of information that will be declassified behind the curtain to be utilized in prosecutions. So everything that's being declassified by Barr, we're not going to know about, at least initially. Now, as these prosecutions roll out, yes, some of that information will become known by us, the general public. Some folks are still very sketchy on AG Barr. Okay, well, there's nothing wrong being sketchy, and there's nothing wrong asking questions, and there's nothing wrong holding people's feet to the fire. That's good. That's good. But as every day goes on, at least in my mind, he shows a side that he is intent on getting it done and getting it done right for the country. He did a recent interview with CBS. Oh, there was all kinds of Bloomberg. Oh, it shows he needs to be impeached. What? What did he say that reinforces to Bloomberg News, other than that they're a deep state tentacle, that AG Barr should be impeached? Well, this from Real to Clear Politics. AG Barr, this is from the CBS News interview. Quote, resisting a democratically elected president, end quote, is destroying our norms and institutions. Sounds reasonable to me. What are you saying? Barr tells CBS News legal correspondent Jan Crawford that there is evidence that makes him believe senior government officials may have acted improperly to authorize surveillance of President Trump's 2016 campaign. He says that led to, quote, spying, end quote, on the campaign. He said the hyper-politicized nature of politics today is a danger to long-standing institutions. And he took the job of Attorney General because he is at the end of his career. In other words, they can probably put pressure on me. Leverage. What they got? I'm not going anywhere else. It's the end of my career. You're not going to block me from the next office I want. He said, quote, nowadays, people don't care about the merits or the substance. They only care about who it helps, whether my side benefits or the other side benefits. Everything is gauged by politics. And I say that it is anti-ethical to the way the Department of Justice runs. And any attorney general in this period is going to end up losing a lot of political capital, Barr said. And that's one of the reasons I decided I should take the job on. At my stage in life, it wouldn't make any difference. Throat problem. That was kind of Mark Rubio-esque. I'm sorry, but cold. I'm at the end of my career, he says. Everyone dies. I don't believe in the Homeric idea that immorality comes by having odes sung about you over the centuries, end quote. That's a classic. Quote, in many ways, I'd rather be back at my old life, but I love the Department of Justice. I love the FBI. I think it is important that in this period of intense partisan feelings, we do not destroy our institutions, end quote. One of the ironies today is that people are saying it is President Trump who is shredding our institutions. I really see no evidence of that. From my perspective, the idea of resisting a democratically elected president and basically throwing everything at him and really changing the norms on the grounds that we have to stop this president, that's where the shredding of our norms and institutions is occurring, end quote. Standing ovation for A.G. Barr on that. Now, he also talked about one of the other prosecutors. He said Durham's in, and Durham's taking control of some things. And then he was asked about Huber, who's this prosecutor that Attorney General Sessions appointed that a lot of people have been saying has been doing nothing. And at the beginning of his statement, he said that Huber was looking at how the Department of Justice and FBI handled this investigation into Trump. And that the FISA abuses he also started to look at, he ended up deferring to Inspector General of the Department of Justice, Michael Horowitz, who is also investigating this, who will be forthcoming with a report in the very near future on that. And that's one of the big reports everybody's been waiting for, the FISA abuse investigation by the Inspector General. Now remember, the Inspector General can only interview people that are currently in government, not fired, not retired. And he can't press charges, but prosecutors can. That's why having a prosecutor working with an Inspector General makes the deep state very uneasy, because the prosecutor can then take the information from the Inspector General who does the legwork and utilize that to file prosecutions. And what Attorney General Barr said was that Huber has backed off with the FISA, is allowing Horowitz to finish up that. And now he said he's been working on some other things. Okay. This from the Epoch Times. Great publication, Epoch Times. Headline, Utah prosecutor close to completing investigation of who? Hillary Clinton, the Attorney General said. A special federal prosecutor in Utah is close to completing an investigation into former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, according to Attorney General William Barr. This is presented by Ivan Penchakov. Bad pronunciation, sorry. Quote, this is what Barr said, quote, the other issues Huber, been working on relating to Hillary Clinton. Those are winding down and hopefully will be in a position to bring those to fruition, end quote, Barr said. While Barr did not specify the, quote, issues, end quote, Huber is investigating, Sessions announced Huber's assignment last year in response to recent letters from 3 Republicans in Congress, Senator Chuck Grassley, Representative Bob Goodlate, and Representative Trey Gowdy. Quote, and this is what was part of their letter, to review decisions made and not made by the Department of Justice and the FBI in 2016 and 2017. The lawmakers wrote that the second special counsel should review evidence of bias by federal government employees, how decisions to charge or not charge people with crimes were made, and whether the surveillance of Trump campaign was, quote, appropriate and devoid of extraneous influence, end quote. Based on the content of that letter, Huber may have been investigating one or more of the Clinton-related matters the FBI was pursuing in 2016 and 2017. So Barr said that Huber has been investigating Hillary Clinton. And while all that was happening, then it was released, and this wasn't done by some Pulitzer Prize winning, which is an award by the deep state given, by CBS, NBC, ABC, the Washington Post, New York Times. This is this is work that has been done by patriots in the internet. And it shows what a fraud the Mueller report truly is. Quote, "It's all a fraud," end quote. Deceptive edits found in Mueller report. This is on Zero Hedge. Representative Dennis Nunes on Saturday, this past Saturday, called for the immediate release of all backup and source information for the Mueller report after internet sleuth Rosie Memos discovered internet now, okay? Not the Washington Post. This is what they should have been doing. Rather than trying to cover on trying to lead, throw shade and protect the coup plotters. Rosie Memos. Hooray. Discovered that the special counsel's office deceptively edited content in the Mueller report, which was then cited as evidence of possible obstruction by Trump, his lawyers, and lawyers. Quote, okay, Mueller's team omitted key context suggesting that President Trump's lawyer, Dowd, was trying to strong-arm Flynn and possibly obstruct justice by shaping witness testimony, while the actual voicemail reveals that Dowd was careful not to tread into obstruction territory in what was a friendly and routine call between the president's lawyers and General Flynn's lawyers. Mueller's deceptive edits beg the question, what else may have been manipulated by the special counsel to make Trump look guilty? When reached for comment, Dowd said the edits in the Mueller report, quote, "It's unfair and despicable. It was a friendly, privileged call between counsel with no conflict. I think Flynn got screwed," end quote. But that's not the first deception these dudes have run. The whole thing has been a deception. As we pointed out, the whole predicate for this collusion narrative was that the Russians hacked into DNC computers. Bill Benny, Kirk Wiebe, and their team revealed that it was not a hack. It was a download. And that download occurred in the DNC. And that download, if you will, into thumb drives, was then delivered to Julian Assange, who then published it on the WikiLeaks platform. If there was no hack, there was no collusion. It's that simple. But meanwhile, while this whole goat rodeo was going on, they were too busy trying to just pin President Trump in a corner. This from the Washington Examiner, great organization. Trump wasn't told about Peter Strzok's Russia operation in 2016 defensive briefing. When officials briefed then-candidate Donald Trump in August 2016 about threats Russia posed to his campaign, they did not inform him about the counterintelligence investigation into members of his team. Peter Strzok, who was the guy who was reportedly giving information to President Trump during the campaign about what was occurring, didn't tell him that Flynn, that Papadopoulos were being investigated. And Strzok was the same guy who was running the investigation. And then it came out this week that I know Rachel Maddow hasn't spoken about it, and the ladies on The View haven't touched. But this came out from the Office of Inspector General, Department of Justice, investigative summary. Findings of misconduct by an FBI Deputy Assistant Director for unauthorized contacts with the media disclosing law enforcement and other sensitive information to the media, and accepting a gift from the media. Bought off lamestream fake. See? Bought off lamestream fake media. Get in trouble saying, bought off lamestream fake media. Here they are working with the little coup, with the whole thing. Okay. The Department of Justice Office of the Inspector General initiated this investigation upon the receipt of information from the Federal Bureau of Investigation alleging that a then FBI Deputy Assistant Director, had numerous contacts with members of the media in violation of FBI policy. The OIG investigation concluded that the Deputy Assistant Director of the FBI engaged in misconduct when the Deputy Assistant Director, 1, disclosed to the media the existence of information that had been filed under seal in federal court, 2, provided without authorization FBI law enforcement sensitive information to reporters on multiple occasions, and 3, had dozens of official contacts with the media without authorization in violation of FBI policy. The OIG also found that the Deputy Assistant Director engaged in misconduct when the Deputy Assistant Director accepted a ticket valued at approximately $225 to attend a media-sponsored dinner as a gift from a member of the media in violation of federal regulations and FBI policy. So you might think, whoa, what's going to happen to this person? Prosecution of the Deputy Assistant Director, in spite of all that, was declined. Now, before you say, I knew it, everything's going to get covered up, nothing's going to happen. All right. Why do you think it was declined? Why? How about this? That Deputy Assistant Director said, you got me. You got me. I'll tell you what. Decline prosecuting me, and I'll turn over anyone and everyone that I have information on. Yet another reason why the deep state is panicking. And then this came out. Their whole way of manipulating, whether it's their parallel platforms of illegal surveillance, or whether it's how they manipulate the media, or it's how they manipulate investigations, or how they manipulate reports, it's all melting. Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher released from custody ahead of murder trial. Well, how does that have to do it? Hold on. Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher released from custody ahead of murder trial. The Navy SEAL accused of killing an injured teen ISIS prisoner in Iraq has been freed from custody as a judge decides the fate of the case. A Navy SEAL accused of killing an injured teenage ISIS prisoner of war in Iraq was freed from the custody this week by a military judge as a move to rectify unsanctioned tracking of the defense team's emails. Oh. The judge, Captain Aaron Ruff, has not yet ruled on whether to throw out the case against Special Operations Chief Edward Gallagher or remove the prosecutors who allegedly attacked tracking software to emails they sent to Gallagher's lawyers in a bid to find the source of leaks to the media about the case. And now the top Navy official calls out the government lawyers for spying on the legal team of Navy SEAL accused of war crimes. In a scathing letter, a top naval legal official just the other day expressed, quote, grave ethical concerns, end quote, over revelations that the government prosecutors use tracking software and emails. Parallel platforms? Remember, they do exist. Tracking software and emails to defense lawyers in ongoing cases involving 2 Navy SEALs in San Diego. The Chief of Naval Regional Law Office is detailing exactly what type of software. He wants to know what type of software was used and what it could do, who authorized it, and what controls were put in place to limit its spread on other government networks. The deep state's coup, the deep state itself, is melting. They're being exposed every minute of every day. And with that exposure comes the light of truth. And with the light of truth comes the restitution of the rule of law, our freedoms, and our liberties. This Friday, we're going to release that special interview. I hope you find it of value. And I normally don't ask you to network information, but I hope you'll network. I hope you will really network that interview. It will open so many people's eyes. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your support. I hope you'll join us for the radio show every Sunday, 2 to 5 Eastern. I hope you'll join us on the DaveJanda.com platform, either the free side or on the subscription side. Incredible content, incredible analysis, incredible guests. 30 cents a day, $9 a month. I believe one of the biggest bangs for the buck in all of the internet. I hope you become a part of our freedom family. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time.